Have you ever woken up to find a little puddle of yellow, foamy vomit on your floor? It's one of those things that just makes your heart sink. You're immediately worried and wondering, what is that? And is my best friend okay?
Yeah, this probably looks pretty familiar, right? It almost always seems to happen first thing in the morning, often before they've even had breakfast. And you're left just staring at it, trying to figure out what's going on.
And then you see them, looking up at you with those sad eyes, and you just feel awful for them. You can tell they don't feel good, and all you want to do is make it better. Your mind just starts racing, doesn't it? Is this an emergency? Did they eat something they shouldn't have? Should I be rushing to the vet? That feeling of not knowing what to do, it's totally normal. Well, let's get you some answers and hopefully some peace of mind. We're going to walk through the number one reason this happens. I'll show you exactly what to look for, and most importantly, we'll talk about a super simple way you can help them feel better. All right, so a lot of the time, this points to something called Bilious Vomiting Syndrome. Now, that sounds complicated, but I promise it's not. I actually like to call it the case of the hangry stomach. So what is it really? BVS is just a condition where a dog throws up that yellowish fluid, which is called bile, when their stomach is empty. And that's why it almost always happens after a long stretch without food, like overnight. The absolute easiest way to remember this is to think of your dog's stomach as being hangry. You know how we get a little cranky and irritable when we haven't eaten in a while? Well, their stomach gets irritated in the exact same way. It's the perfect way to picture what's going on. So here's what's happening on the inside. The liver produces bile to help digest food down in the small intestine. But when the stomach's been empty for a while, some of that bile can actually slosh backwards, right into the stomach. And since bile is acidic, it really irritates the stomach lining, which isn't meant to handle it. The stomach's natural reaction is just, get this out of here. So the big question is, how do you know if it's just a simple case of a hangry stomach or something more serious? This is where you get to put on your detective hat. Let's break down what to look for. On one side, you have classic BVS. Your dog throws up that yellow foam in the morning, but 5 minutes later, they're bouncing off the walls ready for breakfast. But on the other side, we have red flags. If the vomit has food in it, if it's happening all day long, or if your dog is tired, in pain, or has diarrhea, that's a whole different story. That's a sign to call your vet. And hey, you might even see some little warning signs right before they vomit. They'll often tell you their tummy feels upset. You might notice some extra lip smacking, a little bit of drool, or maybe they're swallowing really hard. Paying attention to these clues can help you piece it all together. Okay, so let's say you're seeing all the signs of classic BVS and none of those red flags. What can you do? Well, the great news is that the solution is often unbelievably simple, and it's something you can start tonight. The whole game plan is to prevent the stomach from getting totally empty for so long. So instead of 2 big meals, maybe try 3 or 4 smaller ones throughout the day. But the real game changer is step 2, giving them a small snack right before you head to bed. That little meal shortens the overnight fast and keeps that hangry stomach from getting upset. And look, this isn't just a folk remedy. It's widely recommended by veterinary professionals. That late-night snack is considered the best first-line defense because it directly tackles the root cause of the problem, that long empty period overnight. It's simple, but it's effective. But what happens if that simple fix doesn't work? Or what if you are seeing some of those red flags we talked about? This part is absolutely crucial, knowing when it's time to stop the at-home care and get a professional involved. Let's be super clear here. If you try the late-night snack for a few nights and it doesn't solve the morning vomiting, you need to call your vet. And if you see any of these other signs, like vomiting multiple times a day, diarrhea, weakness, or they just seem painful, don't wait. Pick up the phone right away. And the reason we have to be so careful is that vomiting yellow bile isn't always just BVS. It can also be a symptom of much more serious problems, like inflammation of the pancreas, something blocking their intestines, or other underlying diseases that need medical help fast. A vet visit for this isn't as scary as it sounds, I promise. We'll start with a good physical exam, feeling their belly, listening to their heart, and just checking them over. And depending on what we find, we might suggest some basic tests, like blood work or an X-ray, just to be sure we rule out anything more serious. All right, so whether it turns out to be a simple fix at home or it needs a little more help from your vet, let's talk about the path forward. What does the future look like for a dog with this issue? And I want to start with the best news of all. In most cases, bilious vomiting syndrome is not some scary, life-altering diagnosis. It is a very, very manageable condition. You absolutely can get those peaceful mornings back.
Now, if changing the feeding schedule doesn't completely solve it, don't worry. Your vet has other tools in their toolkit. We might recommend a special prescription diet that's extra gentle on the stomach, or in some cases, we might use a medication that helps the stomach empty a little more efficiently to prevent that bile from washing backwards. And that's really the goal here, isn't it? Getting back to normal. It means you're not waking up worried about cleaning up a mess, and more importantly, your best friend is waking up feeling happy, comfortable, and ready to start their day. So if you only remember one thing, make it this. If your dog is acting totally normal, happy, energetic, good appetite, but they have that predictable yellow vomit first thing in the morning, it is very often just an empty, hangry stomach, and the first and best thing to try is a simple bedtime snack. Remember, this information is for educational purposes and is not a substitute for professional veterinarian advice. If you have any concerns about your pet's health, please consult with your certified veterinarian. They are your best resource for ensuring your companion lives a long, happy, and healthy life.